Hello and welcome to The World Today with Kay. Ours is really to have a stage where we can share thoughts, ideas, and opinions about things that are affecting the world today in order that we would create peace, justice, and positive change. Today's topic is something that's really dear to my heart, and it's about cross-cultural exchange, which I sometimes like to call cross-cultural sharing. Cross-cultural exchange is actually when two cultures meet together and start to interact with each other. It could be a person or a community. And I think it's important to not only meet someone from a different culture, but actually go into the community and not only take, but give. Give and take is really what an exchange is about. And don't only take what you want, take what is being offered to you. Because sometimes when you have a cultural exchange or an exchange of anything, you could easily take something and misrepresent it. But once you take what is being offered to you, it's easier to represent it in the right way because it's been offered to you with such an understanding. Cross-cultural exchange, it happens anywhere and everywhere. If you interact with somebody else from a different culture, then you have an exchange. It's something that I just love. I love to meet people who are from dissimilar cultures. And when you meet someone from a dissimilar culture, sometimes you're not even aware of what your culture really is until you step out into a new culture. This is what happens. When you step out into a new culture, you start to realize what really defines you. You start to realize your values. You start to realize your beliefs. You start to realize how you respond to things. So I would say that if you are somebody who wants to experience this cross-cultural sharing or exchange, then it's important that you're a person who's open-minded and very curious, someone who is loving and also sensitive to other people, someone who is slow to speak and quick to listen, because then can you hear what other people are really saying? Then can you see what other people are doing or how they're reacting to what's been said, what's been presented, to the food, to the clothes. Culture is really about, it's so dynamic. It's really about fashion. It's about food. It's about music. It's about ideologies. It's about responses to different things. It's the way of life of a people. And when we start to have this exchanges, these interactions, then we start also to see the positives and the negative sides of different cultures. And once we start to see it also as differences, then we can develop as humanity. We can develop our cultures as well, just to embrace something positive from somebody else, from another community. And for me, that's what I find very interesting about this cross-cultural exchange. Where does it happen and when does it happen? It happens everywhere and anywhere. I can give you different scenarios because I'm Kenyan and I'm here recording in Sweden. So I've been in this country for a while. And so for me, it's been real interactions with a whole society that's so different from what I grew up with or what I believe in or what's different from me. And also, I've been working a lot in international settings, going to an international church, working in an international school. And so I come across so many cultures and different people with different ideologies and different walks of life. And top of my head, I can maybe think of 4 very vital situations that I've been in where the cultural exchange could have gone down south. And some of them also have been so amazing that it's just been such a positive impact in my life. And one of them I just want to address a situation. I was once in a square here in Gothenburg, actually. Maybe I've shared this before, I don't remember, but I remember going with a friend of mine to the square and finding a group of people, and I didn't know who they represented, but I could see that they had come together and they were having a kind of demonstration. Now, I didn't know what it was about, but being my spontaneous self and very open-minded, really excited to find out about this new group of people, I just approached them. And I could see that there was a lot of policemen there, or police officers there. But I didn't think so much about it. So when I approached one of the guys, he was quick to explain to me who they were and who they represented. Now, what I found out is I was just very interested. Even if what they were saying was totally against me, it almost could have swallowed me and made me so angry. I found myself more interested than angry. So this group of people was really talking about ethnicities, and were saying how because they're Swedish and they want to keep Sweden Swedish, then they were thinking about all the other ethnicities that were very foreign, like people from Africa, that they shouldn't be in this society because they're so different, and they're willing to ship them back to their country. So I found that very, wow, this is what this person represents, and this is what they're standing here to talk about. So I started to wonder, I wonder why he thinks this way. I wonder why they think the way they think. And there came an exchange, because as I just decided to question him and listen to his take on life, his perspective, then I was also ready to share what I thought about that very particular thing. And what actually happened was we ended up having a conversation where I saw a crowd of people gathering because they knew what they were about, but I didn't know. And they were so surprised that there was no bitter thing that came out of it. So that was one cultural exchange that I thought, wow, this is so not my mindset. Where I'm from, we just embrace people as they are. It doesn't matter their skin color, it doesn't matter their ethnicity. We're just happy to you know, to mingle with people who are dissimilar from us. But that was one scenario. See, in life, you meet people every day, and there's different scenarios. Some are positive, some are negative, but really it's also a choice that you make what attitude you're going to have. So another scenario that I've had is going to a party. And now this is not even so far away from me, because people like to put Africa as a country. But I can tell you, we are so different. Even from one country, there can be different cultures, different languages, different styles of music just in one country. So here I go to a party, and it was a Nigerian party, right? So I step in, and I'm thinking, I don't know what to expect, even if they're as African as I am. So I think, right? But what is it being African? I don't know. So I step in, and the first thing I notice is the smell of the food. Now, the smells that were coming out of the kitchen are smells that I've never experienced before. So it was like, whoa, I really wonder what's happening here. What I'm going to find in this food that we're going to be served today. And what was interesting is when the food was being displayed, I could not recognize, maybe only two things I recognized. It was rice and it was meat. Everything else was completely actually foreign to me. There was some slimy sauces. There was all these things that I had never seen, some really dark green leaves, and they were bitter. Now I know they're called bitter leaves. And then they had there was even some dark brown gooey stuff that you eat, which you call fufu. Now I know. But I mean, for me, it was really new. But because I love culture, I love to know what is all this. So I just served and just was brave enough to taste everything. And it was such a great exchange, because even today, I learned how to cook some of the Nigerian traditional food, because I really enjoyed it. Like, it was nothing I had ever eaten before, but I enjoyed it. And I was like, yeah, I want to embrace this. I want to try this. So that was a really good experience, right? So there is food and there is an ideology. Well, there's so many scenarios that I've been in. Well, here's another one. So one time when I had traveled back home, and because I'm from Kenya, we have a group of people called the Maasai people. Now, you see, that's a very different culture from my culture, even if we're from the same country. So I remember feeling how empowered and educated I was. And so I went to visit this group of people, and we were a couple of us. And I remember stepping into a group of them and offering my intelligent views and perspectives of life, right? So I was there empowering them and telling them how they should go to school and go to university and be more educated. And really, they can be anything that they want to be. They can be engineers, they can be, you know, doctors. And this I was doing thinking that, you know, what I know is so much better, and I'm offering them something that's so much higher than them. But what do I know? I mean, everything that we do today also has been created by another man. It's somebody else. We've decided that you go through this way of life, then you have to go to university. But actually, in that very culture, they have their own form of education. They have their own simple way of living, which is different from what I know, but doesn't mean that it's wrong or mine is better or theirs is better. It just really shows sometimes how with the culture exchange, it's important that we're also really humble people so that we can really see other people's cultures as differences and maybe even learn something from another culture, not always feeling like we're better than they are because you only see things from your perspective, but to try and even ask questions that are leading and maybe try to understand why people do what they do, because there's always a reason why people do what they do. So comes my fourth example. Working in the international school, as I said, we're so many from different countries. And I remember once being in a classroom as a specialist teacher. So I have a group of students and they're from different classes. So they've come together and now I'm teaching. And the way I want to have my class is probably different from how another teacher wants to have his class. So in the beginning, I just wanted the students to feel comfortable. So I allowed them to sit wherever they wanted to sit so that they can interact with each other and really feel like this is their space so that they can be ready to receive what I had prepared for them. But I remember another teacher walking in and he looking at the classroom and feeling how he knows these students. And might I say he was British, right? So here is the Kenyan who maybe knows nothing, but because he's British, and yeah, he should know everything. I don't know. You see, I'm from Kenya and we're colonized from the Brits. So I immediately am thinking, yeah. So he comes in and he says, yeah, maybe they shouldn't sit there, and maybe those boys together, you know, will make trouble. Now, his approach to sharing what he thought was the right way of doing things was also condescending, and maybe because of one's attitude, maybe you can carry yourself in a very proper way. So at that point, I just decided to have a better attitude and just relax about it and maybe just let it go. But in my head, I was thinking, this is two different cultures. He has his class. When he has his class, I don't come in and interrupt and start saying how he should do how he's teaching and how he should go about with classroom management. No. So, I mean, I'm just trying to say that cross-cultural exchange is valuable. It's valuable, but we always have to have, you know, like the right attitude to learn from each other, but also to share what we have with others in a very loving, sensitive, and giving way, you know. So those are my takes on when and where. I mean, I have many examples, but that's it for now. Well, you know, with cultural exchange, sometimes you don't know when you're exchanging. It's not like this event that's happening. Now we're exchanging cultures. It happens just as you're, you know, living life. But I can say that there is a way that you can have intentional cultural exchange. And I can say that that would easily happen once you've been in a different culture and you've kind of understood that culture, and then you've seen a way that you can enhance that culture. So it's not that the culture is wrong, but it's just that there are things that you can offer to this culture, and you're very aware of the things that you can offer to the culture. And so you package it in a way that it can be received. And so there's many intentional cross-cultural exchanges that are happening, let's say here in Sweden. For example, I've seen a lot of restaurants that have come up here in Gothenburg, and they're from different cultures. You see Indian restaurants, you see Japanese restaurants, you see like very many different restaurants from different cultures coming up. Also, you can see artists that come to the country, or people who already live here who are of different descents or different culture, and they're singing music that's really from their origin with the different musical instruments. And it's so beautiful when you see all these people who are, let's say, from this society already, let's say Swedes, getting into this new culture that's been shared with them. And it's a beautiful marriage that happens, and it enhances, let's say, the Swedish culture. And we have the same, I guess, everywhere in the world, because growing up in Kenya, I just remember I have this appreciation of Indian food because there's such a big Indian culture in Nairobi, in Kenya, and there is all this fabrics, and there is all this music, and especially the food. So I would say my favorite cuisine is Indian. I don't know whether it's because they shared their culture when I was growing up in Kenya, but I just love it. And maybe it's not somebody else's cup of tea, you know. But so today I really want to share how you can be intentional about sharing your culture. So intentional cross-cultural exchange. This is the fun part, because for me now it's a living thing. It's happening in my life right now. Having stayed, let's say, in Sweden for as long as I have, I feel like, you know, when I came into this country, it was really gray. It was lifeless, if I might say so, because I'm comparing with where I'm from, and no color, no excitement, and no spontaneity. It was, I know it was a shock to me when I came here. And over the years, I've also noticed how when I look around, most people are wearing black or gray or blue. Even the studio guy right now is in black. Black or gray or blue or brown, like really, you know, really dull colors that don't bring them, you know, there's no excitement when you look around. And every time I put on color, they would all say, wow, it looks so nice. Then they would say, oh, it's because of your skin. It's because you're brown, everything looks good on you. And I had never heard of something like that before. So I was so amazed that people had that thought, and I was wondering, where does that come from? And then I just kept always thinking, oh my goodness, I would just love to try out something colorful on a Swede just so that they can see how amazing they look. So this thought came to my mind, and with some friends of mine, we were thinking, imagine if we had like this Kenyan or Tanzanian or African fabric. And then we made some great designs which were wearable, and just try it on Swedish people and see what they look like. So here, what you see, or what I'm wearing and what you see right here, is some of the fabrics that we've put together, some of the clothes that we've put together coming from Tanzanian fabric, and then having it tailored back in our country, and being able to share this culture, you know, with the Swedes. It's just so fantastic, because just seeing the fabric, most people's comments has been, oh, when you look at the fabrics, you just feel so happy. And that's the idea of cross-cultural exchange, that you see you're making a positive change with your culture. And I believe that, you know, when we start this project, when we started this project with my friends, it's really about brightening Sweden. Like, it's that simple. We just want to brighten Sweden. We just want Sweden to catch color and catch some joy, and, you know, catch the fun of just being random, and, you know, not having just one base black color, but being able to even brighten somebody else's life when they look at you just because of the color. And actually, I have seen that, according to research, color is something that brings joy, and it can be used for therapy, just using color. So we call it color therapy. That if you put somebody in a room where there's brighter colors, they become more creative and more joyful, and more, it just brings so much more to life. And if you look at nature, you see all the different colors, you know, and you can see that if you live in nature, you end up having a sense of life and joy and growth and exuberance. And that's what we, as me and my friends, have brought. And this is, let's say, fashion. So, you know, culture, fashion. So this is what we're calling African fashion in Sweden. So it's like an Afro-Swede fashion happening here. It's a great cohesive marriage between Sweden and Africa. When you see a Swedish person wearing this African patterns, I mean, when I think about it, sometimes maybe I shouldn't go there, but I think so much about how, let's say in Kenya, we've for a long time worn, well, in Nairobi, we've for a long time worn clothes that are not from us. We've embraced all these other cultures. We've been so Americanized in the past. In fact, we almost didn't know what our identity was when it came to fashion, because we just did everything American. So it's a joy to finally see us embracing who we are, because who we are is not fashion, who we are is who we are. But now bringing it to another culture is really exciting and empowering. So this is what I want to share with you also today, that you would embrace this new fashionable culture.